Today is Thursday, January 19th. What to know about a snowstorm that slammed the Midwest and where it's headed next. And all about a new refugee policy that requires more everyday Americans to get involved. Also, a surprise announcement from a history-making leader, why New Zealand's Prime Minister says she's stepping down. Plus, a new plan from Southwest Airlines, how colleges are changing their ways because of artificial intelligence, and the movie's getting the most buzz at the first in-person Sundance Film Festival in years. Those stories and more coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. That same storm that soaked California last weekend ended up hitting the plains and upper Midwest with heavy snow, like more than a foot of snow in some places. In fact, Denver saw more snow in this storm than it typically does for the entire month of January. Flights had to be canceled, and several roads and interstates had to shut down all over Colorado. Today, the snow is expected to go northeast toward the Great Lakes. Meanwhile, as the middle of the country saw snow, the south got strong thunderstorms. A tornado was even confirmed in Arkansas, uprooting trees and damaging buildings. But as of this morning, no one was reported hurt. Out west, California is still drying out from 3 weeks of rain and snow that caused flooding, landslides, sinkholes, and avalanches. And today, President Biden is planning to visit. He'll meet California first responders, see the damage, and figure out how much federal support the state needs. Well, there is still no deal in Congress, so today the U.S. is expected to hit its debt limit. It's happening because of what is considered the first showdown between the newly Republican-led House and the Biden White House. Remember, Republicans in Congress say they are willing to pay for past spending by raising the debt limit, but in return, they are demanding cuts to future government spending. And the White House is refusing to negotiate on that. So they're at an impasse. Now the Treasury Secretary is forced to take what she calls extraordinary measures. Secretary Janet Yellen says even though the country hit its debt ceiling today, she can do things like tap government investment funds to give Congress until June. But after that, if lawmakers still don't take action, the U.S. will not be able to pay its bills on time for the first time in history. It could trigger a financial and stock market downfall, keep the U.S. military from getting paid, and crash the retirement savings of millions of Americans. To be continued. It looks like the policy for refugees coming into the U.S. is getting a big change that depends on everyday Americans. The Biden administration is set to announce the new pilot program today. Reports say it would involve groups of at least 5 people who will be expected to raise about $2,300 for each refugee, aka people who have been forced to leave their country because of something like a war or natural disaster. The State Department is reportedly hoping 10,000 Americans will be willing to take on this role in the first year of the program. And this is a big change since for decades now, the U.S. has relied on 9 nonprofit organizations to resettle refugees with federal funding. Since the U.S. refugee program was created in 1980, the U.S. has granted safe haven to more than 3 million people. They've all had to undergo interviews, security screenings, and medical checks as part of a years-long process before coming to the U.S. And that part is not expected to change. By the way, the need is certainly there. The United Nations says the number of people displaced by violence around the globe has reached 103 million, more than at any other time in history. President Biden has a goal for welcoming up to 125,000 refugees into the U.S. this year. For the first time since Russia first invaded Ukraine 11 months ago, a top Ukrainian official has died. But it's not clear yet if Russia was actually involved or not. Ukraine's interior minister and other senior officials were among at least 14 people killed in a helicopter crash. Dozens more were hurt. The helicopter was taking officials to a hotspot in the war when it went down just outside Kyiv. Ukrainian officials now say they're looking into what caused the crash, whether there was a technical failure, if the helicopter was purposely sabotaged, or something else. It was a pretty big shock for international politics. New Zealand's Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, announced she's stepping down. Many people consider her an icon since she became the world's youngest female leader back in 2017. Then she became just the second world leader to give birth while holding office and brought her baby daughter to the floor of the United Nations in 2018. Ardern has since then handled the nation's worst mass shooting and, of course, the pandemic. The response there was pretty mixed, since some praised her for keeping COVID-19 out of New Zealand for a while, but others were very upset about strict mandates and rules. Now, Ardern says she just doesn't have the energy or inspiration to seek re-election, and February 7th will be her last day as Prime Minister. It's not yet clear who will take over. It will be up to Ardern's Labour Party to pick their next leader until the next election in October. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Have you ever gone down a Google or social media rabbit hole looking for answers about a health concern? I know I have. And most of the time, it's not all that helpful, or I find a bunch of conflicting information and feel confused, or I realize there are a bunch of so-called experts who don't really have the credentials I can trust. So if you need answers from someone that is not random on the internet and want a trusted professional, ZocDoc is here to help. You can find a bunch of medical professionals that specialize in the care you need, and you can see their patient reviews right there on ZocDoc before you book. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. No more doctor roulette or scouring the internet for questionable reviews. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Well, Southwest Airlines says it has a plan to keep another meltdown from happening. Since the disaster over the holidays left more than 17,000 flights canceled, the airline brought in a consulting firm to look into issues and recommend what steps to take. Already, the CEO says more workers have been assigned to handle scheduling problems. That way, if a lot of crew members are out of place, they'll be able to handle it. Plus, Southwest CEO says the airline will spend more than $1 billion to upgrade and maintain its IT systems, answering the call from unions who have been warning Southwest about the outdated technology for a while now. The technology industry is taking another huge hit. Microsoft says it's cutting 10,000 jobs. It's just the latest in a string of layoffs from top tech companies. These Microsoft workers will get notice by the end of March. The company CEO blamed the shaky economy, saying some parts of the world are in a recession and other parts are expecting one, so it's time to be cautious. But some finance experts say a lot of the issue for Microsoft and other tech companies is they just did too much hiring during the peak of the pandemic. Microsoft actually added 58,000 jobs from June of 2020 to June of 2022 because there was a huge surge in demand for its workplace software and computing services, with so many people needing to suddenly set up home offices. Well, now that need just isn't there anymore, and the company is shifting its focus more toward artificial intelligence, so it's restructuring. Remember, this comes after Amazon said it would be cutting about 18,000 positions. Social media companies Meta and Twitter have laid off thousands of workers too. All of this, by the way, is definitely having an impact on the stock market. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ were all down yesterday. Twitter has found another way to cut costs by selling off its stuff. The company put more than 600 items from its San Francisco headquarters on the auction block. A neon sign of Twitter's bird logo went for about $100,000. A digital photo booth brought in a bid of $2,100. Other items sold include professional kitchen equipment like a pizza oven and kegerator beer dispenser, as well as luxury furniture, soundproof phone booths, stationary bikes, and more. So far, Twitter has not said how much money the auction raised overall, but as the AP points out, this auction is unlikely to make any real dent in Twitter's financial obligations. Robots are becoming more people-like than ever before. The robotics company Boston Dynamics put out a new demonstration this week of its Atlas machine using what look like human hands to do some heavy lifting, along with running and jumping, which it has done before. The new video shows Atlas fetching a human worker his heavy tool bag. To get to him, Atlas builds a bridge, grabs the bag, hops to a higher spot, and slings the bag up to its boss. Then there's a little gymnastics move, and yes, the robot stuck the landing. Though keep in mind, the videos are carefully planned and structured and can be edited to take out any mistakes or falls. But Boston Dynamics hopes that one day Atlas can be used for real physically demanding jobs in fields like manufacturing or construction. But for now, it says it's a ways off, and Atlas is just used for research. If you want to see the robot in action, just head over to thenewsworthy.com. We added a link to that video in today's episode notes. Movie stars and film buffs from around the world are descending upon Park City, Utah this week. The Sundance Film Festival is back after 2 virtual-only festivals in a row. Now there are some highly anticipated in-person premieres planned. Some of the movies expected to generate the most buzz include Cat Person, which is based on a viral New Yorker story about the horrors of modern dating, a comedy called Theater Camp, a sci-fi film starring Emilia Clarke called The Pod Generation, a documentary about NBA star Steph Curry, and many more. The Sundance Film Festival starts today and runs through Sunday. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Rocket Money. The new year is a great time to reset anything in your life that you're hoping to upgrade. And I'm not necessarily talking about a major life change here. I'm talking about those small changes in your everyday systems that can eventually, over time, help you reach your goals. And one system that can help with any money goals on your list is Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Even in the first days of signing up myself, I realized that I was paying for subscriptions that I wasn't using and had forgotten about. Plus, Rocket Money makes it easier to see my finances over time, like a graph showing a breakdown of money spent on subscriptions, as well as bills and utilities each month, so anything out of the ordinary is easier to spot and fix if necessary. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. That's rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Well, there's a big change happening at schools and universities these days as they try to keep up with artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT. We've told you about this before. It can understand human language and generate human-like written text back. But the problem is, teachers and administrators have realized it's helping students cheat on their homework since it can respond to questions with pretty well-informed answers, and it can even write essays. Someone on Twitter put this to the test by having ChatGPT take the SAT, and it got a 1060, which is about average. So schools are working to keep students from having that option. Some public school systems, like in New York City, Los Angeles, and Seattle, have banned the tool on school Wi-Fi networks and devices. At the college level, some professors are overhauling their courses to include more oral exams, group work, and handwritten assignments instead of typed ones. One professor at Northern Michigan University told the New York Times he decided to make students write the first drafts of their essays in the classroom, and then in later drafts, they have to explain each revision. The company behind the technology, OpenAI, has said it really doesn't want ChatGPT to be used for the wrong reasons, and it looks forward to working with educators to help them benefit from artificial intelligence instead. Thank you so much for listening today. We so appreciate your support of the show, whether that's sharing on social media, leaving a review, or becoming a Newsworthy Insider. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.